Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to make a video finally about why I quit the ICU. So last year I had made a video about how I got my dream job um, and then I had did like one video on like an ICU update, and then there was like nothing else. So um, just like a little background, I have been a nurse since I got my license in 2011, and I started working as a nurse in 2012. So on some of my older videos, if you guys have seen those, you would know how I was unable to get hired into a hospital, which was where I wanted to be at. But at that time in 2012, all the hospitals in my area were interested in becoming magnet hospitals, which meant that they only wanted nurses with their bachelor's degree, and I had only earned my associate's. So I had gotten declined from every single hospital I applied for. Even though I graduated with honors, it didn't matter. Even though I had great references from my teachers, it didn't matter. So I ended up taking like the first job that did call me back, which was a long-term care facility, and it was like a non-skilled one. So like no real acute type of patients. So as you know, as I've said in other videos, I was very sad about that because I had worked so hard for my nursing degree, and you learn, and all my training had been in hospitals. So I had so much knowledge in my head at that time, and then just to go to a nurse home and never be able to use it, it was very, very depressing. It was humiliating, and I was just very sad. It really crushed me, and stopped me from even trying again to apply for hospitals for many years. Getting those rejection letters back to back to back, it really like broke something inside of me. And yeah, so like years went by, and I never even tried again. So um, in 2016, when I went for my bachelor's, and then I got it last year, 2018, and then I made a video about that as well. Like when I when I was in school, I had a certain hospital in mind. It was from one of the clinicals I had done. I had heard that like they had paid the best, and when I was there for my clinicals, I had a really great time. It was a level 1 trauma center, so you get everything. You get all the major stuff. And in nursing school, I don't know if it's still like that, but I know when I was there was a stigma that real nursing happens in hospitals. Real nurses are the ones like dealing with the gunshot wounds and the people almost dying, like the super critical patients. Like that was considered real nursing. And if you weren't doing that, you know, and even when I would tell people I was a nurse, they would immediately ask, well, which hospital do you work at? And it's like, I don't work in a hospital. I work in nursing home, and they'd be like, oh, okay. So, so I had this hospital in mind. I'm like, this is where I want to go. This is what I want. So I applied to every hospital though anyway, and got interviews at every single one. That hadn't even happened the first time I applied. I had immediately got rejection letters. Nobody had asked me in for an interview. So this time, all the hospitals wanted me to come in for an interview. So I finally go to the hospital that I had in mind, and I interview with them, and they offered me, I believe there was 5 managers in there, 5 different managers from different units, and I got offered 4 different positions. Um, so I what I had wanted was the ICU, because again for me, I felt like real nursing was dealing with the most critical patients, the most difficult patient, and where you're going to find a more difficult patient at besides the ICU. So I got offered that position, and so I took it. So I was so pumped, I was so happy, because it's like this was the hospital that I had wanted for all these years, who had rejected me before. I got the exact position that I wanted. Like I'm in the ICU, so I literally like, I went from nursing home, non-skilled nursing home, to ICU at a level 1 trauma center, and then got paid substantially more than I did at the at the hospital versus in nurse homes. So I was happy, and I was very proud of myself. Um, but I have to say, like, I don't know, it was just so weird because literally as soon as I said, okay, I'll accept the ICU position, something was like nagging, like in the back of my head, like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. The other non good idea was that I had a number in my mind of what I wanted to be paid. I had looked it up and I saw what bachelor's degree nurses get um, with experience. Because even though I was in a nursing home, true, I didn't have like skills to take care of like acute patients, but I had developed my other nursing areas, my leadership, my critical thinking, all that. I had developed all that. So, I knew, I was somewhat skilled. I had been a nurse at that point for 6.5 years, so I knew what I should have got paid. And I planned on saying, what I wanted, and then I chickened out. They offered me a number, and while it was close to what I had wanted, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. So I ended up, because I didn't want to lose the opportunity. I felt like, if I argue about it or try to negotiate about it, I'm going to lose this opportunity and I'm going to lose my dream job at the hospital. And then what? So I didn't even bother negotiating. I just took whatever they said. And I signed a contract. I signed a 2-year contract. That should have gave me a heads up of like, why do I got to sign a contract? Yeah, they had a lot of turnover, I found out later. But, so yeah, I took it, and so even before I started the job, I was like beating myself up over it, because it was like a month before I had to start. So like that whole month, I was just like, maybe I should just call the manager back or HR back and like try to negotiate this. Like, I'm not happy with this amount of money, like this isn't what I had wanted initially, but I didn't. So I get there, I'm there, and I'm not gonna bash my former employer. I'm not gonna do that. It's unprofessional. But I will say that it wasn't what I expected. The already just learning something new is already stressful, and these people were so sick, and it was such a contrast from working in long-term care, because I was in what we call the health center. I was taking care of people who were dying, and it was expected that they were gonna die, and most of them were like DNRs, do not resuscitate. Like, you're there until you die. Like, we're not really trying to save your life anymore. We're just trying to keep you comfortable while, for the rest of the time you have left. Versus here in the hospital, like, we're trying to save everybody. We don't want nobody dying here. So it was just very, very, like, it was just very stressful. It was like a different, just a different type of stress. I felt extremely overwhelmed, like with the patient load. And, I will say though that I had amazing preceptors. Everybody was so kind to me. And it being a level 1 trauma center, there was so much that I learned, so many learning opportunities, and they really took their orientation very seriously. Like, the minimum is like 4 months, but you can, orientate up to 6-7 months if you need it. So they go in depth with you, because they want to make sure that when you are off orientation, like, you're good. So I really appreciate that about the job. They really taught me a lot and were very patient with me, and just, I had amazing preceptors. I really did. I still love them to this day. Like, everybody treated me so well there. So, it wasn't that, it was just the stress. It's crazy how the constant, like, beeping of monitors, if you hear the beeping of monitors, like, that's a problem. You can't get alarm fatigue in ICU, because, and then it was just like they're constantly alarming, like, these patients were just so unstable. You just didn't have a moment to like breathe or to just stop, because as soon as you're trying to put out one fire and now another fire is going off in your other patient, it was just, it was a lot, and I just found myself so depressed. I felt so sad. The hours were so long in a nursing home. That's 8 hours. It was 8 hour shift. And so to come here at the hospital and to find out, first of all, there is no 12-hour shifts. It's 12 and a half, first of all. And that's if you're very lucky and you're able to leave on time. That was extremely rare for us. We always were leaving after, 14, 15-hour shifts. Like and then when you're there again the next night, like, or later that night, so you've just done a 15-hour shift, and literally you have like 6 hours before you have to come back. So in 6 hours you gotta try to find some time to go home and shower and eat, try to relax for a minute and sleep, and drive yourself back there in 6 hours to do it all over again. It was just a lot. So like, I was crying before I was coming to work. I was so depressed. Even on like my off days, I was like stressing about work, about what had happened before. And then, the day before it's time for me to go back, I'm stressing about having to go back and what's going to happen. And, already patients are unpredictable. But when you're dealing with ICU, like critical patients, like they're really, unpredictable. And then I know there's a nursing shortage, and, unfortunately we suffer from that as well. And so, we're short in the ICU. I'm being triple, I'm being quadruple. Like, yeah, it was just too much. So I wasn't going to leave because I felt like I needed to like impress other people, I guess, because again, that whole stigma of if you're not doing critical care, you're not really a nurse. You're not really doing nursing. So, there was definitely some pride on my part where, I'm like, well, I work in ICU. I don't want to let that go. Like, that's a nice thing to be able to be like, yeah, I'm an ICU RN, But, and so it was like that. It was like, girl, you finally got exactly what you wanted. Like, this was a hospital. This was a job you wanted. Like, toughen up, like, get over it, So it was that. And then it was that contract I had signed. I signed a 2000, or not 2000, it was actually like an $8,000 contract for 2 years, So I didn't want to break that contract, So what ended up happening is, like, after like 6 months, because I wasn't going to leave, I was just like, I'm just going to have to toughen it out, tough it out for 2 years and then just leave after that. And people were leaving all around me. People were leaving because they were stressed. It was a high stress area, So what ended up happening that kind of had to make me pause was when my children had actually gotten like a very serious illness, and that required me to have to take care of them at home. So I didn't have to quit, but I did have to take some time off to take care of my child. And so while I was off, there was a date for me to come back, and just while I was just at home and away from the area, I was just able to really like pray and soul search, and I was just like, I'm miserable and I'm not happy. I hate it. I hate the stress. I did not hate the learning aspect of it at all. I absolutely loved it. But maybe if I had just had, like 1 or 2 patients, like regular in ICU, maybe I would have been able to deal with it better. But just going there and constantly being tripled or constantly getting 4 patients, it was just too much. So I just had to let like all that pride go. I had to let go. I was like, girl, do you care more about your pride, about telling random strangers every once in a blue moon that you work in the ICU, or do you care about your peace, your mind? Who cares about this contract? Like, yeah, it sucks that you're gonna, break a contract and you got to get that money back, but whatever, like, no, like you're not happy, you're not having peace, you're crying all the time. This is not what life is. Like, life is too short for this. Life is too short, you know. And so, um, yeah, I decided to quit. I was like, it sucks. I only did 6 months, but can't do it. My peace of mind, it was just worth more. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And so yeah, that's pretty much why I left. And honestly, the amount of peace that I got when I let that job go, amazing. I left last December, so it's been, like 9 months since I've been gone, and I have not regretted it one day. I have zero regrets about leaving. I actually was mad at myself for a few months because I didn't do it sooner. I should have left right away, because I knew it wasn't for me like 3 weeks in. After like 3 weeks, I was like, nope, this isn't for me. And I stayed anyway for 6 months, and I regret doing that. So I was actually mad at myself that I stayed for that long, but absolutely no regrets about leaving. So yeah, that's why I left the ICU, you guys. I'm not in there anymore. And so yeah, I'll tell you guys about, the new job that I'm doing now. I'm a float nurse now, so I get to float everywhere, and it's amazing and it's awesome, and I'm really enjoying myself. So I'll make another video about that, about how, how it is to be a float nurse, and you know, um, so yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you later.